Hi, probers.
Hello, probers!
Welcome to But It Was Aliens,
The
extraterrestrial comedy podcast brought to you weekly by two former MIBs who believe that you should know the truth about the extraterrestrial shenanigans that are going on in the universe.
As well as sea beasties. Hauling ass!
I am your host this week, the king of the street grannies, the prince with the perfect peach,
Ass!
and the bestest of best friends, Granny Moon Walker. And sitting opposite me as always is the tallest man in the room, sitting in at 5,983 feet tall. Probers, I give you the grey-bearded one, Kev in the grey.
How tall would one have to be before their head left the Earth's atmosphere?
Now, that is a question I would ask you, but as you were a toddler when that happened, I don't know if you have the recollection of how tall you were at the time. So, is that something you could possibly call your parents and find out?
No.
Okay. Then, do you have any old pictures of you at that age? Then I suppose they would have to be taken at such a height that your head would be
Visible?
exiting the atmosphere. That's a very good question. That is a very good question. How about we put a pin in that and we come back at another time?
The next episode coming in at 244,000.
Today, we're heading to the Netherlands. Why am I talking like this still?
I genuinely thought you were taking a piss and hadn't started the episode.
Today, we're heading to the Netherlands. Have you been to the Netherlands, Greybeard?
No, I have not actually.
Ooh.
Never have I visited these lands.
Some good lands. We're heading to Uden.
Uden!
Specifically, 1973. Accurately, November 10th. Allegedly, around 2 a.m. And Dolphijn. Did she have a high-pitched voice? Who knows? Quite possibly.
Did she have particularly grey skin? Fins?
Maybe.
Or did she sell clothing and dance?
And the grey. And Dolphijn was making her way to the bathroom. As she would make her way from the bedroom, she would spot something white out of the window.
It's unusual that it's white because she's grey.
Like you. She didn't take much notice as she wanted to pee real bad. But when she came back, she looked out the window. There, outside of her house, was three figures. Three figures dressed in white robes.
Oh, shit.
Three figures dressed in white robes making their way to her house.
God damn.
The best way to describe what these people look like is clan fuckers, but 3 foot tall.
That's exactly what I had in my... 3 foot tall? That's not exactly what I had in my mind. I was thinking clan fools here.
She continued to watch...
Better run, Dolphin.
From the window, although she stood back in the hopes that they don't look up at her. One of the individuals took out a device which seemed like a metal detector, and they started to swipe it from side to side.
They were looking for that ass so they could haul it. Haul it ass, baby! Just so you know, I am picturing the entirety of this episode taking place underwater.
And her being a dolphin?
And her being a dolphin, yes. This is kind of like Little Mermaid on LSD in my mind. So we've got an underwater civilization.
What is in that bottle?
ass. I'm hauling ass. 3 figures in white robes. Why are they picking on this dolphin?
We do not know.
Did she live in a rural area? Or do we know if her house was located, for example, isolated away from...
Wasn't isolated.
Okay.
Wasn't isolated.
I better not see any fire.
Underwater. That'd be some magical fire.
Well, exactly. Scary.
Anne was thinking of waking her husband up, but also thought that he could potentially have a heart attack due to these events as he suffered from a heart condition.
Oh.
Anne continued to stand there, but then one of the figures turned and looked right at her. They then turned to talk with the other 2. Next, they turned around and shuffled off. She watched them until they disappeared down the road and behind one of the buildings. Anne shuffled herself back to her room and thought again about waking her husband, but before she opened her mouth, something caught her eye through the bedroom window. A 7-foot red sphere was hovering above the ground about 130 foot away.
What?
There was something about it that
was a boy!
That made Anne observe it in brief stints. Anne's husband would eventually wake up, asking her what the time was. She turned to look at the clock, told him that it was 3 a.m, turned back, and the spherical orb was gone.
So the orb was inside their house?
Outside.
Oh, sorry.
She was looking out of her bedroom window.
Yeah, and saw the figures. In my mind, because this has taken place underwater, everyone had gone inside her house.
Okay.
Including the boy. So
is... in your mind, everything being underwater, is that her house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a space hopper in your research notes?
It is. It's a red sphere.
Did you have a space hopper as a child?
No, I did not.
I don't remember it. I feel like one of my sisters must have, but I could get to places quicker walking.
I remember them being at nursery and at school, but then people used to just boot them rather than actually like bounce on them like you meant to. And then what were those like UFO shaped ones? Like you had the ball with the disc around them.
Yeah, and you'd stand on the balance board or whatever they were. Balance, I don't know.
Stupid things.
Yeah. I wonder if they have that kind of stuff in nursery today, because that's kind of risky when you think about it, isn't it? People falling off and cracking their head all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The world being crazy as it is these days.
Different times.
Yeah. My daughter's due to start nursery in about a month, give or take. I'll do some investigating. What kind of toys you got?
You're going to get ill a lot.
Yeah. I was ill the other week for the first time, I think, properly ill for the first time in something like a decade plus. I was on death's door, my friend. Absolutely on death's door. Right. And we had that discussion that it was a realisation that having a child, I'm going to catch every single plague under the sun now. It's like ground zero for illness having a baby, isn't it? Or a child. She'll always be a baby.
You keep blaming her, but in reality, you're just a little bitch.
Home. How old were Anne and husband, sorry, did we say?
Anne was 55, I believe.
That's helpful. Because I just wanted to know that they'd lived a bit of a life, because the husband's got this heart thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, it's never good at any point in life, but it's particularly sad if that's a young person with that kind of issue. At least him and Anne have had some good times. Good times.
Under the sea.
So now that
it's much better.
She realised that this spherical orb was gone, she then fully woke his ass up and explained what she'd seen. Stop drinking ass. He believed what she was telling him 100%. And then both of them decided to go back to sleep. Or to try to go back to sleep.
Whoa. If you've seen 3 aliens, and a red orb, you're not going back to sleep, surely.
I wouldn't, but like you said, they're older. They've seen some things. Maybe this is
just a standard Saturday night.
This isn't the worst of what they've seen.
I want to know what Anna's seen now. Crazy dolphin lady.
In the morning, Mrs. Dolphin swam to the police station following the events of the evening.
Now it's like Sharky and George in my mind.
But to no avail. They took her statement, but did nothing about it. The crime busters of the sea.
How did that statement go?
Sharky and George.
The crime busters of the sea.
A year later, CUFOS, the Center for UFO Studies,
Gold Star,
would get wind of this story after the son of Anne's friend Bob would contact them and tell them everything. Dewey Bosger was a Dutch researcher who was in the US at the time and would eventually decide to pick up the case and returned to the Netherlands in 1978 to investigate further.
Do you think if we signed up for something like CUFOS,
They would just let us in?
they just let you because they want the numbers to be able to do the investigations? It's obviously voluntary. Or do you think they vet their applicants? And if they vetted us and saw what we do, would they let us, or would they think that's a risk? I mean, we've got legitimate experience as former MIBs and paranormal investigators.
We do.
Several years experience at this point.
Or
And we know shit.
do you think you have to put in like 10,000 hours worth of work beforehand, like off your own back, and show that you're legit?
And then what happens?
And then you get into CUFOS or one of those, and you get a little
So you have to
badge.
do your own independent investigations, which arguably we have done more thoroughly than probably most of the applicants they get. Well, I say thoroughly. We have done.
Do you know what we should actually do?
We've got hours of investigations behind
I think
us.
we should apply.
You got to think we've got more than 250, close to 300 episodes.
Do you reckon
Put
there's
side
just a
pros
form
in there
you
as
fill
well? 300 plus episodes. You looking up the CUFOS form.
Gonna look and see if we need to fill in a form.
You could have me and Mr. Moonwalker turn up at your door to solve any mystery. Whilst you're doing that, I'm just looking at the photos that you've slung me in the research notes here.
Yep.
So this is Anne. She looks like she's seen a ghost, to be quite frank. She looks less dolphin-like than I've pictured in my head, so perhaps you should have shown me these at the end so I could continue in my happy dream.
Oh.
What's...
Right. I've just searched how to become a CUFOS researcher.
Yes?
First thing that comes up. So you want to be a ufologist?
We already are, my friend.
It will be up to you to become an expert in the UFO field, since there is no formal training in the subject. Let's have a look.
I question them because there clearly is formal training that we have been on.
One important point to keep in mind: almost all work in UFO groups is unpaid. Certainly true at CUFOS.
We are broke, is what they've just said.
Or poorly compensated.
We can't pay you shit.
People join groups and work on investigations and projects because of their intrinsic interest, not because it provides a career path.
This is a career path, I'll have you know.
If you're ready to get involved on a volunteer level, what competencies should help? Experience tells us that analysis of UFO reports is a strong cross-disciplinary endeavour. So, investigation of UFO sightings themselves in the field.
There you go. Ding!
Study of the reports and or witnesses.
Ding! Ability to haul ass.
There's Didn't they say there was no formal training?
Yes, you said that.
UFO
moments ago.
studies and apprenticeships.
That sounds like formal training.
That does sound like formal
Is there
training.
a cost attached to that by any chance?
Oh.
Oh, CUFOS.
You should try to contact one of the major UFO organisations to see if you can become involved as a volunteer. For students, we normally suggest waiting until college, if not later.
Because you will see some shit that will mess you up. Is there a link right at the bottom?
Volunteering can lead to becoming a personal mentor who can help guide you through the many pitfalls often encountered in ufology. Rumours, gossip, unfounded speculation, poor science.
We're pretty handy at all of those.
There's some recommended reading, and that is about it.
There you go. So, in summary, it is easy to sign up to CUFOS. Tick yes.
I think we should become members. Support us. Get involved.
We'll take over.
If you contact us about volunteering, please include the following information: email and telephone number, your location, description of your education, professional skills or experiences that you believe to be relevant.
There you go.
Wow. Well. You have a birthday this year, don't you?
Yeah, I was just thinking of that time I tried to sign you up for that Harry Potter school, the real life Hogwarts.
Yeah, you did.
But it cost a fair bit and I didn't have the faith that you'd see it through.
No, I bloody wouldn't.
You don't have what it takes to be a wizard.
Right, let's get back on track, shall we?
Yeah, you show me an image of the 3 white figures that do indeed look like members of the clan. I find this borderline offensive. Let's move on.
And there's also a dolphin.
Her initial to Mrs. A. Dolphin.
Dewey would meet with Anne regularly to discover the events that unfolded before her very eyes. Dewey, following the meetings, would conclude that she was not the type to make this kind of story up. He believed her to be completely credible. Anne did nothing to sway this. She wasn't interested in the publicity, and she wasn't seeking to make a fortune from it either. The story broke into the wider media following the interview, and the public drew an interest now too. Anne would become a mini celebrity.
The local dolphin.
Why does that sound like whore in underwater? You know, the local dolphin.
Everyone loves to ride a dolphin. It's so many people's dream.
Oh, can't believe you talk about Anne that way.
You wrote it.
Right. She would become a mini celebrity. Everyone in the local media wanted to interview her.
Wanted a piece of her.
And Anne didn't disappoint them. She saw them all. And all would come away believing. Oh, you've ruined that whole section.
Ruined it. You've made Anne out to be a local hussy.
You made her out to be a dolphin.
Dolphins are sex obsessed. We have covered this. They will straight up hump you, give them half a chance.
So everyone in the local media wanted to interview her, and Anne didn't disappoint them. She saw them all, and all would come away believing what Anne had seen.
They saw the higher power.
As time went on by, theories about what she had seen would start to be theorized. The book Spooklicht by Hans van Kampen, released in 1980, put forth that it's most likely that what Anne saw was 3 people that had attended a local carnival that night.
3 feet.
The local Prince Carnival is on around the same date that Anne saw the mysterious figures, and it's known that those who attend wear white hats that point down on both sides.
But how did they get underwater?
And there's a picture there for you, so you can see the hats.
So that, you can imagine she'd have been looking down on them from her house, so would have just seen the white hats. Yeah, that's quite feasible. Just to add, Hans van Kampen sounds like one of those Christmas characters we would have probed before. The mysterious Count Hans von Kampen kidnaps children in the forest and whatnot. And this is another picture.
There's another picture of what you would have seen.
The metal detector looks like a pooper scooper or a litter picker.
Pooper scooper.
They look kind of like sharks.
Hammerhead sharks.
Yeah. Yet further evidence that this took place underwater.
What an ass.
What's on their belts? They've got utility belts with all sorts of tools. What do they do? Why did no one take one?
I think you just answered your question just before I was about to. What's on their belts? I think they're utility belts. What?
What sort of utilities are they? One looks like a yo-yo.
Well, might make sense in this next bit. Another theory that was put forward by Mr. Mars, who did so in a letter to the study group for Strange Air Phenomena magazine in 1984, says that he lived in a new estate which was similar to the one that Anne was living on, and says that the streets still needed to be paved. And he explained that one evening a gas engineering van would arrive. Several men in overalls got out with tool belts on and other instruments that looked like the object that Anne described, and says that the description of how they moved was also similar to how these engineers moved. Mars claimed that he had ventured outside to politely ask the men what they were doing, and they informed him that they were checking the street for gas leaks. This was a task that had to be done at night due to there being more pressure in the pipes during this time. This made gas leaks easier to detect. Could it be that it was this that she witnessed that evening and was nothing more than a gas check on her street? Records with local gas companies were checked, and none of them had any record of performing a check that night. But at the same time, records were only kept for 10 years before being destroyed. These were checked just outside of that time frame. Coincidence? Or planning?
That does feel pretty feasible as an alternative explanation, I must say. You've given two bloody good alternatives. I'd say you've wrapped this dolphin up pretty much.
A bow on it? Mrs. Echo the dolphin?
The utility belts,
Batman?
if she legitimately made those out, then that would probably go more towards the gas theory than it would the carnival. I can't imagine why carnival goers would be wearing utility belts with their little hats.
The carnival is called the Prince's Carnival, and the hats look like jester hats. So I think a lot of them dress as jesters. So it might have been that they had a jester stick with them, which was one was looking at. Maybe they were just whacking it backwards and forwards, hitting flowers like little turds, and they might have just had normal belts on or little jestery belts. I'm just throwing other explanations out there for.
Yeah, I mean, both feel more likely than aliens, I guess, is the key takeaway there, whichever one you go for. But then that doesn't explain the red object she saw. Could that have been a planet?
130 foot away,
but
just
was
hovering off the ground.
Reflection?
Wow. But what of the red spear-shaped object?
There you go.
There was no explanation from those that gave us the previous ones about this. So did they just not have an explanation? So decided to leave it out? This case is still unsolved. I'm unsure if Anne is still alive, but there is nothing to say that she changed her mind about what she saw. She didn't release a book, there's no film, nothing. Just a lady saying what she saw.
Honourable lady. A dolphin.
She's just a dolphin, a dirty dolphin.
You have ruined my perception of dolphins every time I see one.
That's you. You done the dolphin episode.
You showed me the video of the dolphin shagging that lady.
You delved deeper and made an episode out of it.
You sent me down a rabbit hole. Dolphins are disgusting perverts.
Yes, they are. Little rubberneck freaks.
Do you remember when that lady from NASA beat one off for science? The world is such a messed up place. Why would you wank off a dolphin? Oh my gosh.
So to summarise, we have the case of Anne Dolphin. A woman who woke up to take a pee and noticed something strange outside of her window. She ignored it until she made her way back to her bed, but stopped and decided to stand and stare this time. What she witnessed was 3 figures outside making their way towards her property. One of them took out a device which to her looked like a vacuum cleaner, and they would continue with what they were doing until one of them turned and looked straight up at her. They turned back, spoke to the others, and then left, shuffling off down the road and behind a building. When she went back to bed, she noticed something else outside of her bedroom window. A 7-foot red sphere. Anne turned to her husband, and when she turned back, it was gone. She explained to her husband about what she'd experienced, and he believed her. She went to the police the next day, and they did nothing. 1 year later, she was talking to her friend Bob about it, and Bob's son contacted CUFOS. Douwe was a Dutch researcher for CUFOS who was working in the US. Douwe came home to research this case. He met with Anne several times and believes that she was trustworthy and honest. The media would catch wind afterwards, and loads of interviews were conducted with the same outcome: honest and trustworthy. Theories were banded around from the Prince's Carnival and gas engineers, but nothing could explain away the big red sphere.
You've put a dolphin in the research notes and it just looks creepy. I know what you're thinking, Dolphin. I know what you're thinking.
So, Greybeard, do you believe that a dolphin is right and this was something extraterrestrial? Or is this just bullshit?
I can't trust a dolphin. That's beyond ridiculous. Absolutely not. We don't know enough about the red ball in the sky to be able to definitively theorise as to what that was.
Wasn't it?
Where was it?
Hovering off the ground.
Oh, it wasn't high.
130 foot away from the house.
I'd got it in my head that it was 130 foot in the air. Oh, that could have been anything.
Like a blood moon.
That could have just been a reflection of someone else watching something on TV in their living room, for all we know. Yeah, bullshit. I'm not saying that it was aliens.
Okay, I'm not harsh enough to call it bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I simply believe that a lady saw what she saw and thought it was something extraterrestrial when it was something that could be explained away at the time, probably quite easily, which is why the police didn't really take much of an interest into it. And during this case, we went over what it takes to join CUFOS. And a lot of it was being able to detect bullshit, essentially. And I don't think they were able to detect bullshit here. Not that it was bullshit.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
A misinterpretation.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to explain. She is a person of an older age in her life who has probably seen people outside for whatever reason, be they gas engineers or partygoers returning from whence they've travelled, has got a bit worried by that perhaps, and has believed it enough to continue to talk about it to her friends and family, resulting in them reporting it. There's nothing to say she doesn't believe, just that she didn't see what she thought she saw.
So it's a really weird thing, and I'm pretty sure we've spoke about this in the past. 55 isn't necessarily old.
No.
But 55 in 1973 would have been ancient. Like,
yeah,
people would have been...
Like, you look at 30-year-olds in the 1980s, they look like Hulk Hogan, for example.
They look old.
Yeah. It's just...
You look at a 30-year-old now and you're like, are you 14?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
Like smoking drugs.
it's quite possible how, if she's just woken up, does she have glasses and didn't have her glasses on? Did she just have really bad eyesight? There's a lot of things there, and I think it's just an older lady.
Yeah.
Excuse me, seeing what she saw and nothing extraterrestrial.
Agreed.
But you still called her a dolphin / a whore.
You've been calling her a dolphin the whole way through.
Not the way you did. Thank you for joining
made
us
her out to be a whore.
for this week's Pro. You can find us everywhere at But It Was Aliens. Instagram, Facebook, on the Twitter. And on Facebook, we have a secret group known as Extraterrestrial Towers, where you can find shit and memes, not in that order. And over at Patreon, / But It Was Aliens, you can gain access to Side Probes, the paranormal spin-off of But It Was Aliens. All of this costs less than a small coffee. Unless you go to a really overpriced establishment and ask for all the extras, including syrup.
Like me!
They're not in this establishment, but at I can't even talk. At Extraterrestrial Towers, you will find dicks, pegs, ghosts, ghouls, demon dogs, pirates, and much, much more.
Just like you will at those fine coffee establishments.
Oh, yeah, you would. As always, I have been the bestest of best friends, and he has been the grey one. Remember, the truth is up there. #